What's up, guys? We are all doing so much reading during quarantine. I have jumped into this book called Technical Revolutions in Financial Capital by Colada Perez. And here's what I want to do today. A lot of you guys are asking about the Bitcoin happening. A lot of you guys read chapter 3 in my book and you said, Nathan, are you still investing in real estate? And a lot of you guys have asked questions just about how I'm investing and where I'm putting money. So what I thought I would do is I've always tried to build mental frameworks for things because that helps me think through what is actually working, what's not, and most importantly, it helps me figure out patterns quickly before everybody else. So just we're going to jump into that today. There's two charts that I want to show you, and I also want to say I am watching the comments. I think they're down there. So if you guys are watching and you want to say hey, you can just feel free to leave a comment down there. I do want to see if they're working properly. So if you're watching right now, I think one or two of you guys tuned in, just type hey or something in the chat down there so I can say hey back. Is this working? Hopefully it is. So what this book talks about, again, Technical Revolutions in Financial Capital, what it talks about is essentially how big bangs and busts happen. And what that means is if you look back at 1908, the first Model T factory was opened in Detroit. And we saw this massive bang occur, which was Henry Ford invented. Hey, Nick Elliott, how are you, man? Henry Ford invented, though, manufacturing at scale. You had Americans buying loads of automobiles, and you saw the massive need for oil and gas. Hey, Richard Braun, how are you guys? So you saw this need happen, but then fast forward 1908 to 1930s, right? You then had World War II and a bit of a crash. And then in 1974, you had the oil crisis 30 years later. So if you look at history, what you find is we're all on these tracks of every 15 to 25 years, you have the boom of the next big thing. You have a 4 or 5 year crash called the turning point, and then another 20 to 30 years where there's growth in that market as the market matures before the next big thing comes in. So Austin, Richard, Nick, if you guys are cool with it, what I want to do is spend some time showing you my mental model, the graph that I use to predict the future. And so the first thing we have to look at when we're trying to predict the future is we've got to look at where there are opportunities, obviously, today. Now, if we look back at 1971, right, that's the last big bang, right? That is when, you guys don't have it in 71? I'll give you a hint. Intel microprocessor, Santa Barbara, Mr. Moore. We saw the first ever Intel microchip. And this led to what we now know as Moore's Law, which is obviously technology is deflationary. Technology makes things cheaper over time because transistor capacity per chip doubles very frequently, and it's getting faster and faster. But if you look at that chip technology and you combine it with another hot trend of the information age, which is the internet, you see something surprising. Let me draw this chart for you. So what you see here is global internet penetration. And we're going to look at 5 different sectors, 5 different areas. Across this bottom axis is our population growth. So 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, up to 6 billion total. And when we sketch this out, we'll start with North America. And we're going to plot the total potential market of each of these sectors. So Latin America, the Middle East, Europe, and the Asia Pacific region. So North American population, right, altogether makes about 10%, 9% of the total outstanding potential consumers for internet. Latin America, 10%, Middle East, 32%, Europe, okay, you get 13, 14%, up to 15%, and Asia Pacific is about 53%, right, 53%. So when we highlight these in, again, this is total market, okay, total market in each of these areas for internet. Now, what we're going to look at next is what penetration of users in each of these places have already got internet. So the percent with internet with this darker color. In North America, it's 89%. Latin America is up there. Same with Middle East, Europe. Let's look at Asia Pacific, though. 48% penetration. 78% in Europe. Okay, Middle East is around 13%. 62% in Latin America, and 89% in North America. So where does the growth come from? When you look at this chart, where does the growth come from if you look at the internet? Well, you've got 2 places, Asia Pacific and Middle East. And so what this means is you've got a lot of people going, well, how do we get internet to the people in the Asia Pacific and Middle East? Well, you have Google launching programs like Loom, which are essentially hot air balloons. You guys heard about this? They're like hot air balloons that fly over these places. And these hot air balloons will deliver internet. You've got obviously Elon Musk working on Starlink, which he shoots the rocket in the air, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of satellites then launch almost like a dandelion in the wind in the summer when you see all the little things come off. So they spread these satellites into orbit and they ping internet down to Earth into these areas that don't have them yet. And you also have Facebook making investments here with 2 of these mini drones. But let's assume the world has 100% market penetration. The question I keep asking myself is, what is the next big bang? What's the next big opportunity? So guys, what is your, I'm Nicholas, Richard, Austin, those of you guys just joining, put in the chat down here out of curiosity, what do you guys feel like the next big thing is? You could be thinking about blockchain, AI, machine learning, robotics. If you had $1 billion today and you had to bet on the future, where would you bet that money? Just out of curiosity. I know it's weird. It's Monday at 6:53 p.m. here in Texas, and I'm drinking coffee. But you know what? We're all on lockdown. I'm allowed to do what I want. So what's your guys' prediction? What's your prediction for this? We're about to jump into, guys, the mental model, the graph that I use to predict the future. We just walked through looking for, exceptional areas to invest when it comes to the internet. But that doesn't tell the full story. We're going to look at history here in a second, all the way back to 1771 and the advent of the industrial age in Germany. This all ties back to a book I'm reading right now called Technical Revolutions and Financial Capital. All right, so Robbie said space. Cameron thinks robotic process automation. Cameron, talk about a hot frickin' space. That is a hot space. And the company, UiPath. I mean, you guys see UiPath, what they're doing? It's incredible. Cameron, what are some other companies in that space? Austin is bullish on quantum computing. Nick is says amen, Nathan. Austin, a bit too early for space. Guys, one cool thing, I'm doing these YouTube lives now very, very frequently. So I'm going to do them about maybe once every other day at around this time. One of the things that you guys can engage with us while we're live, you can actually chat with me, your voice live, is we have this Discord channel. We have that Discord channel. I just put the link down there in the chat, but you can join me there and join the voice channel and actually talk. There's a thinkers channel that you guys can jump in. All right. All right, so we're getting a bunch of you guys' prediction. Again, Austin agrees with RPA. Will says definitely automation. Guys, one of the things you can do to help more people see this, again, I'm about to jump into this chart I use to predict the future, is click the like button below the video. That helps me out a ton. You can see here on YouTube, we're almost 7,500 founders and thinkers and investors strong. We're killing it. So if you're loving the content, click subscribe. But let me jump into this chart. Okay, and again, this chart I'm about to show you, when it has to do with the future, it's a culmination of this book I'm reading right now, but it's also all of these. It's also, no joke, it's all of these. And I'll jump into each of these in a second. I'm cranking through a ton of books right now, but I don't want to bury, what do they say? You don't want to bury the lead, right? So I'm going to show you guys here, again, this chart that I use to predict the future. Okay, so let me jump into it. Here is how I think about this pattern. Again, this is adopted from Technical Revolutions and Financial Capital by Carlota Perez, which I highly, highly, highly recommend. All right, so let's go to this now. So what we're going to look at is, again, predicting the future. Okay, now any trend kind of looks like this over time. Installation period, a turning point crash, and a deployment period. And that turning point crash is very obvious. Let's start with 1971. Again, Intel chip, microprocessors, brings in the information age. What happened in 2000 though? You have the NASDAQ crash, stocks crash. The question is, what's next? As that information age place matures, what's next? This pattern happens all the time over history. 1908 Detroit, World War III crash, and then 1974 oil crash. That was the last phase. We're in information age now. And what's next? Blockchain, robotics, AI, nobody knows. But we are going through crisis. COVID, oil, we're seeing populism and Trump, obviously. So these are all signs to me that we are about to break into a brand new something, a brand new age. And again, the question is, what is like that brand new age, right? What is the brand new age? So there's a bunch of different predictions, right? There's a bunch of different predictions. Again, we've talked already about AI, machine learning. Will is bullish on automation. Cameron's talking about Blue Prism, which is already public, right? The questions I ask myself, and by the way, guys, this is the holy grail, right? If you understand where everything's going and you can get ahead of it, that's where you build a lot of wealth, right? So here are a lot of things that I'm thinking about. You have the gap between rich and poor growing exponentially. And if you want to understand why this happens, okay, a great book for that is this book. You've probably heard of it before. I love this guy's content. I've shared stages with him at DLD, but it's called The Four, Scott Galloway, which is basically about, again, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Google. But you have to remember that chart I just showed you. What happens as a market is maturing? Okay, I'm going to play it again so we can see it. Okay, what happens as this market is maturing? Okay, this curve on predicting the future, right there, that early phase, venture capital pours into these markets, the installation period. Venture capital pours into brand new ideas, Amazon, Facebook, etc., Google. But that turning point is when financial capital no longer is driving real new ideas and new production. It's just speculation, which is why you had that NASDAQ crash in 2000. And now, in the mature phase, what you're seeing, that's that gray area on the right. The mature phase is where capital is going into these companies, but it's less bullish. It's less speculative. And why that's important, okay, why that's important is because less speculative capital means people are spending less money. They're investing less money. And the reason that that is interesting is because you then have these massive tech companies with a lot of profits every month, every year, but nowhere to invest them. This is why Apple is sitting on billions of cash. It's why Facebook, Amazon, Google, they're sitting on billions of cash. And yeah, Google will launch things, obviously, like their drone programs and robotics programs and self-driving cars and all that. And in fact, a great book. There's two books I recommend if you want to understand how Google kind of has gone through the information age, from these early VCs putting in a lot of money to the 2000 crash, to scaling to where they are today in terms of how their AdSense revenue subsidizes all their other experiments. The first book here is by Eric Schmidt. Highly recommend. More of a first-person account called How Google Works. Okay, How Google Works. It's a nice first-person account. The other one here, which was earlier, is by David Wise, Google Story, published about 7 years before this one. But they're both very good in terms of understanding Google over the time period we just described. Remember, that time period is 1971. More comes in. Intel microprocessor, internet, same time, DARPA funded, boom, VC dollars pour in. They over-speculate. 99 internet bubble, NASDAQ crash, boom, done, NASDAQ crash. Okay, because there was too much capital going into the system that was being speculative. Now in the development, okay, and installation phase of the information, right, age, you're seeing money get more. Okay, people are being more, or sorry, I should say less speculative with their capital. What that means is Google, Facebook, all these people sitting on gobs and gobs of cash, and they don't know where to spend it. So what do? Hey, Alan, how are you? Guys, what do? Do you know the answer to this? When a public company is sitting on cash, if they want to boost their stock price, what do? Any guesses? Put them in the chat real quick. What do? Okay, they buy back their stock, right? They give dividends to shareholders. When they buy back their stock, the market views that as positive and their stock rises. But it doesn't do anything to increase the productivity of the world, right? Of the world. So what we're looking at now, a major question, think about this, a major question I ask myself when trying to figure out where is the future going is, what is the next invention that's going to usher in, yeah, you guys nailed it, by the way, buybacks. What's the next phase that's going to usher in a lot of new production? Okay, again, we talked about robotic process automation, robotics in general, blockchain potentially. We'll get to all those in a second. Another kind of thing, another company that played in this graph, again, I'm going to play this clip one more time for those of you that missed it. Okay, this early stage, right, predicting the future. Okay, that early growth stage before the turning point, which is right there. So installation, turning point, crash, and then deployment period. That early period, another company besides Google that was in this period was Apple, right? You had Apple, you had Amazon, right? All these companies. And so one of the ways to understand how financial capital works in those periods is to actually understand and read books on those categories. So these are two books I recommend on Apple. This one called Inside Apple, really great perspective that is not focused on, a Steve Jobs, oh my God, he's a god kind of thing. But this guy, Adam, does a great job at actually developing and decoding how Apple works. Obviously, you've got to read Becoming Steve Jobs, the biography. Okay, another company you can study in this space and in that early time period, information age growth, right, is obviously Bezos. And one of the things about Bezos, as you guys know, is he almost always is running at a negative EBITDA margin between, call it 10 and 20% in his quarterly reports to shareholders. And people hit him. They go, why can't you be profitable? Well, his counterpoint is a good one, which is if we're profitable, it means we don't know how to invest capital, right? I mean, do you guys agree with that? If you're not spending, if you're making a bunch of cash and you don't know where to spend it, it means you've lost your ability to identify new and unique technologies. So you do financial engineering things with your capital instead, like you buy Instagram for $14 billion, right? Adds no productivity to the world, but you see Instagram as a threat, so you buy them because you're sitting on cash. What else are you going to do with the cash, right? Or your Apple, your Google, your Microsoft, you buy back your stock to juice your price. There has been over $500 billion of R&D money from the top tech firms over the past 5 years spent, again, on R&D, $500 billion. I would argue we've not seen that money go to anything useful to society. Most of that's gone to, new Snapchat filters, right? New algorithm updates to get us more addicted to drive AdSense revenue, right? I mean, just ridiculous things that are Amazon, right? Giving us tools to, sell more of, a gimmicky product that we imported from China. These are not true breakthroughs. And so I think a lot of these tech companies are searching for what is this next thing and making a bet. Another good company to study, a book to study from this space, Marissa Mayer, right? Yahoo, Growth of Yahoo. All those are great books. Okay, I'll hold these up one more time, right? All of these are great books to study from that time. But again, this brings back the question of what comes next, right? What comes next? Ruslan, I don't think we've met. Quantum AI blockchain computing is the future. Ruslan, you got it. Bring me down to earth, man. What does that mean? What does that mean? By the way, guys, a lot of you guys are in Discord, chatting it up there. If you want to chat in Discord, this is a Discord channel for founders and investors that I run. It's free. You can click that link and actually type with me, chat with me there. Put your questions there. It's more real time than YouTube. Here on YouTube, there's a bit of a delay. All right. Cameron said buyback when they can't think of other ways to spend the money. Exactly, right? Buyback. So again, things I'm looking for in terms of what the future is. You also have to look at society as a whole, right? And you have to look, unfortunately, at populism today. The bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots. If you guys see here on the YouTube channel, I did an interview about 2 weeks ago with Preston Pish, who I think gave a great analogy, which was right now what you have happening is the government bailing people out. Thanks, Ewoy. I appreciate you. But you have the government, guys, how crazy is this? Follow me. You have the government bailing out corporations, picking winners. It's capitalism at the top, right? Sorry, socialism at the top. The government is picking winners, giving money out. But the small restaurant down the street's going out of business. They're saying, okay, SMBs, okay, mom and pop shops, it's capitalism for you. If you can't pay your bills, you go out of business. What kind of country are we living in where you've got socialism happening at the top and capitalism happening at the bottom? And what happens next? The rich get richer and the poor get poor, my friends. You know what happens next is war, civil war. Now, we don't want this to happen, obviously, right? So we hope that things can get fixed, obviously, before that happens. Hey, Brad at Automation Links, I'm glad you liked that interview with Preston. But yet you have war happening. So the question is, how do you balance the current way the government gives out money, right? And Lauren Hazel is saying, yeah, exactly. But how do you balance this? Well, we just saw an announcement the other day, right, that the federal government in the United States is going to start buying ETFs. They're following the Bank of Japan model, which has been disastrous. You don't want the federal government participating in the private economy. That's not hands-off market. That's not laissez-faire economics, right? Now, we don't have perfect capitalism today. I mean, you have these healthcare companies with these monopolies and they increase prices. You have drug companies that are going crazy. We have crony capitalism today. But capitalism works. We've just got to get it back. But there's going to be a bit of an explosion. So the way that I'm trying to predict the future here is I'm asking myself these questions. Is there a piece of technology that can shorten the gap between the haves and the have-nots? That's number one. Number two, is there a piece of technology today that is only possible today and it was not possible 30 years ago? Whether that's because Moore's Law has brought down the price, right, of executing, or some other worldly trend. I like blockchain for this reason. I'll tell you why. Moore's Law directly correlates to cheaper mining rigs today to mine Bitcoin, right? To process through the hash rate and get the Bitcoin reward. The fact that blockchain and mining on blockchain is directly correlated to how cheap you can buy a rig, a miner, a server warehouse, etc. I love that Moore's law and blockchain are directly correlated that way, right? So you have blockchain, Moore's law, cheaper rigs, decentralized. That still doesn't solve the question earlier, though, of decreasing gap between haves and have-nots. Okay, so again, what can decrease that gap? Well, if you look at this from a legislative perspective, you could argue that UBI is very interesting. UBI is very interesting. Now, why do I say that? People freak out when I say UBI could be interesting. Out of curiosity, guys, how many of you guys would be in favor of that $1,200 stimulus check you just got from the virus? How many of you click the like button, the little thumbs up below? How many of you would like to get that once a month? How many would like to get that once a month? I know a lot of people that really would, once a month, okay? I see 2 of you guys have clicked like. I hope the like is working. That helps us, obviously, more people see this content, more people engage, more people jump in the chat, okay? Robbie is saying education. Let's go on education for a second. Here's a problem with education, Robbie, and you guys all know this. When you have the federal government saying we'll do student loans at very cheap interest rates so every student can go to school and afford it. Well, if colleges know that the government will pay tuition, they're just going to increase price. The college is for profit. They want to make money. That's why you've seen college prices like 10x over the past decade. So the only way that you can fix education is to directly cap tuition increases year over year if the federal government is going to keep giving out cheap student loans. Or you're going to have corporations like Google going down to colleges and negotiating cheaper rates for students that they end up hiring. This is almost how healthcare works with insurance, right? The insurer negotiates the lower price with the healthcare provider. I think you will see this in education, or you're going to see something like, a Lambda school take off, right? It's very interesting. So education is an interesting one. Brad said I'd love to donate it once a month. Yeah. So guys, here's why I like UBI. I like UBI because I think our obsession with unemployment is the wrong metric to measure. I actually believe if you want people like McDonald's and Google and Uber to replace human capital, right, with automated capital, automation in general, you actually want humans to be replaced. Do you want more humans unemployed if you want companies to create more productive products, get more efficient products? Does that make sense? Are you with me there? So let's just follow me for a second. Let's assume that everyone is unemployed. Maybe we only work 1 hour a day, or Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week comes to life, right? We work 4 hours a week and that's it. Now the question is, why don't we only work, 1 day a week today? And the answer is, at least for the poor, is you've got to work more to make enough money to buy food. So the question is, if technology is deflationary, and automation is technology, obviously, but if tech is deflationary, meaning it should make goods and products cheaper, why can't we buy 2 or 3 times as much today with the same dollar? And the answer is, the federal government has an inflation target. They print money to inflate the price of goods 2% each year. And the reason they have an inflation target is because they want consumers to buy stuff today because they fear it will increase in price in the future. It's just like a sales page that says buy today before we increase price. In order to drive GNP and GDP in a country, you need consumers to purchase today. And that money flows through the system and multiplies, money multiplier. And that's where $1 of printed money can turn into $4 of GDP. If a mom uses it to buy a meal, then McDonald's, who she bought the meal from, uses it to pay an employer, and that employer or employee ends up using it to buy something else. It's a money multiplier effect. But here's the issue. We today don't have cheaper prices because the federal government has printed so much money, right? If the federal government didn't print so much money, yes, you'd have more people unemployed, but stuff would be cheaper. You could buy more with the money you only make working 3 or 4 days a week. So I think in the future, what you're going to see is a 1-day work week. You will see cheaper prices. The federal government will eliminate the inflation target each year, and the Treasury's got to lead that along with the Federal Reserve. But you'll eliminate the inflation target. You'll let tech be deflationary. However, every human in America Okay, so every American citizen will get a check every month, $1,500. And that check, people go, how do you pay for this? It's so simple. So simple. It's not taxpayer money. Who benefits the most from automation? Companies. McDonald's replaces the cashier with a cheaper robot. They get the benefit of the automation. Amazon gets the benefit of the automation, the data we give. Facebook gets the benefit of the automation. We give them so much data, they process it. 10% VAT tax on a $21 trillion economy, okay? And now everything wouldn't be eligible, so maybe half of it. Let's say 10 trillion and eligible in terms of applying a VAT tax to, right? That's $10 trillion, okay? So $10 trillion and then apply a 10% VAT tax. That's $1 trillion in revenue that you can then pay out in UBI checks to 320 million Americans. For a plan like this to work, it has to be simple, I think. Oh, Russ on the Discord's here. Does that link work, guys? I hope that works for the Discord. Or maybe it was the wrong link. So guys, I am in the Discord channel, in the Thinker channel. So if you guys want to join Discord, use that link. I just put it down there in the chat, and you can go in there and chat with me while we're chatting here live. So back to the question of predicting the future. Again, what I'm looking at is what is something that's going to decrease the gap between rich and poor? What's something that's going to enable people to work less but buy more, so it erases the inflation target, right? What's something that gives more people more freedom? Remember, if you are only working a day a week, you can spend more time doing things you currently don't get paid for but you really love, like the artwork, or the mom spending time with their kids, or the dad spending time, again, with their teenagers, things like that. Oh, guys, the Discord's not working? That is weird. Hold on. What about that link? Does that work for Discord? So guys, if you join the Discord, your voice will kick in. So Nicole Frankum, Will Pattison, if you join the Discord, you should be able to join the voice channel. You can ask me questions live, which will be great. Let me know when you guys join there. It should work. There we go. I see Simon just jumped in. Ruslan jumped in. Guys, join the voice channel on the left. The voice channel on the left under Thinkers. You see the little brain icon? All right. So while you guys are joining, again, the Discord to chat with me, again, where I'm putting my own money, just put it out there, where I'm putting my own money is the following. I don't think the federal government's going to stop printing so much money. I think they're going to keep printing. In a period where printing happens, inflation occurs. And anytime when you look at history, whenever inflation occurs, the winners are asset holders because assets increase in value. The second I see this trend changing, when the federal government says we're going to stop chasing an inflation target, we're going to stop printing, we're going to let tech decrease prices over time instead of, again, inflation increasing. When that turn happens, I'll convert everything to cash very quickly. Because in a deflationary period, cash holders win. Again, if things are getting cheaper over time and you're holding cash, you can buy more with your cash, so you want deflation. That's why right now it's kind of silly to hold a bunch of cash. That's why corporations are doing buybacks. You know, Warren Buffett sitting on $156 billion in capital. The federal government prints twice as much money. His capital is now worth half. You see how that works? So that's where I'm putting my money right now. It's all assets. I've got some exposure to Bitcoin. I'm spending a lot of time lending money to software companies in terms of loans. And that's, again, how I'm thinking about predicting the future. So I'll go through, again, one last chart here. Okay, I'm going to play this. This is the chart that I use to predict the future, okay? You have a new age, a big bang that comes in. There's an install period, a crash, a turn, and then a deployment period. The most recent one was in 1971. Santa Barbara, Intel chip introduced, Moore's Law. Everyone put money into tech companies. You had the 1999 stock market NASDAQ crash. Now today we have all these crises, which is a sign that old market, old bang is maturing and new things coming in. This is true over time, guys. 1908, Detroit, Ford, Model T, automation. 1930s was your turning point. You had the World War II and the crash. And then 1974, you obviously had the oil crash. So the question is, what is next? Robotics, blockchain, Bitcoin. There are all these things that could be next. Ruslan or Billy, unmute yourself if you can. Oh, you guys are shy. Guys, if you guys are in the Discord, in the Thinker group, you should be able to actually talk to me live. Join the Thinker Voice channel on the left of the Discord and unmute yourself. I'll end here. We've got about 2-3 minutes I want to spend together. End here taking a couple of questions. John said they can keep printing provided they can maintain velocity, I reckon. John, I just disagree with you, man. I don't think you can't keep up. Okay, the federal balance sheet has gone from, call it, 2 trillion, after '08 to almost 7 trillion today. There's too much money being printed. It just decreases. Okay, that money printing drastically increases the gap between the rich and the poor, because when money's printed, it benefits asset holders, equity holders, stock market holders, and the poor get poorer, the rich get richer, and it's going to lead to a revolt. You can't just keep printing money. All right, Ruslan. Hey, Billy or Ruslan, one of you guys unmute yourself in Discord. You should be able to actually chat with me. Are you not able to unmute yourself? I don't think it's any setting that I have. You guys in Discord on the left side, bottom left, you should be able to unmute yourself. Maybe not. I don't know. You guys have to chat with me. I can't. Are you not able to do that? All right. Brad said, dang, that's crazy. Makes me think about where to invest for sure. Yep, guys, that's what I'm doing. So, hey, look, guys, we're putting out these interviews with software founders every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. Every day at 2 p.m. Eastern. If you enjoy those videos, click like. If you enjoyed this live stream I did with you guys today, please, please, please click the like button below. That's what gets me excited about doing these with you every day. I'm going to keep reading all these books, okay? I'm going to keep summarizing them for you. I made some recommendations today. By the way, when you start seeing magazine covers like this, it's how you know we're about ready for the next big bang, right? Or next big bang. Guys, you'll have to tell me in Discord why the chat's not working. I don't know why you guys aren't able to chat with me. Anyone's audio working? I don't know why. But again, click the like button below, guys, if you are enjoying this. I will do more of these. I really appreciate it. And then, again, we'll end it here. Next time I come on, I'm probably going to talk about arguing and the best way to argue to get the smartest. I know it's weird. We're going to look at history of communication and how to argue more effectively. So I appreciate you guys making time today. Again, jump into the Discord channel if you want to chat more. I'll be there. And we'll end again with predictions. Gabrielle just said internet infrastructure and genomics. Again, guys, where do you think what do you think the next big bang is? What do you think the next big bang is? Again, over the history so far of life, the big bangs have been starting in 1771. Okay, we all know you had the Industrial Revolution, right? Started in Germany when you had these, cotton machines producing things much faster, much more effectively. Then fast forward, right, to 1971, right? You had the information age coming in, which we saw with Robert Moore introducing the chip in Santa Barbara, the Intel chip. But even going back before that, 1908, you had oil and steel, right? Automation. 1908 was when the first Ford plant opened in Detroit. So you had cars coming off like crazy. The third age before that, again, I'm taking this off from the book, Carlotta's book, was the age of steel in 1875. The Carnegie-Bessemer steel plants opened in Pittsburgh, right? USA and Germany were forging ahead, then overtaking Britain. And then before that, in 1829, you had the age of steam and railways, which really was brought in by Britain when the rocket steam engine successfully won the competition between Liverpool and Manchester. So 1771, 1829 was the second, 1875 was the third, again, 50-ish years apart. 1908 was the fourth, and the fifth was 1971. Today, 50 years later, right, it is 2020. A new age is coming in, folks, and whoever can predict what the new age is first and get ahead of it is going to be the real wealth winners. I'm all about predicting the future. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. You guys can't unmute yourself? That is so weird. Well, those guys, we'll wrap up the live stream here on YouTube, but I'm going to stay live because I want to try and figure out why you guys cannot unmute yourselves. I wonder if I put something up which banned everybody from being able to unmute yourself. Give me 1 second here. Let me try a couple settings. Edit channel, bitrate, permissions. Permissions synced with voice channel. Okay. Let's see here. I don't think there is a way to do it. Guys, I'll jump in Discord after this. Okay, so I'll continue this conversation over in Discord and we'll chat more. John talked, have you ever looked at total monetary supplies flows for all currencies, moving to fiat transfers the collateral from hard assets to output, which changes based on population? John, the best way to look at this is to look at the federal income report, the federal balance sheet. They put it out every week. And what you'll see is a growing line item called credit swaps. And what that means is there are emerging markets that hold a lot of debt backed in U.S. currency. They're trying to get their hand on dollar right now, but there's not enough dollars to go around. So you're seeing the Federal Reserve here, the Treasury in the States, basically having to swap with them, give them dollars to back up debt that they have that's getting margin called. So yeah, I mean, you are seeing this obviously explode. All of it's going to explode eventually, but I hope we get ahead of it. All right, guys. Again, Nathan Latka here. We are live every day. Call it 6-ish p.m. or sorry, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I hope you enjoyed today. If you liked it, click the like button below. Also, click the subscribe button and the little notification. That way you'll get notified when we go live next and be able to engage with us. All right, so I'm ending here on YouTube, but if you want to keep chatting with me via audio, jump into the Discord channel. I'll see you guys there. Take care. See ya. Bye.